Imagine for a second that you were just going about your normal routine.
Right.
Maybe you're grabbing a coffee or you're just sitting at your desk doing some really mundane grocery shopping.
Just an average Tuesday.
Exactly. And you happen to glance down at your own arm. And there, etched right into your skin, is a digital black ink tattoo that you absolutely did not ask for.
Oh, man.
You rub it, right? But it doesn't smudge. And then you realize it's moving.
Yeah, that is the really chilling part.
It's a digital countdown. The numbers are ticking backward minute by minute, second by second, and it's leading down to a single terrifying word. Boom.
It's such a visceral hook.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so thrilled to have you here with us. Today's mission is to extract the terrifyingly plausible real-world science and, honestly, the intense forensic psychology buried inside Jim De La Vega's gripping thriller, Gone in 3 Seconds, from the Mindhunter series.
Yeah, because we aren't just summarizing a book today. We are really getting into the weeds of this.
Right. We're unpacking the brilliant blend of high-tech psychological terror, the actual biology of explosives, and the deeply compelling, incredibly broken protagonist standing at the center of this whole storm.
It really is a remarkable narrative to use as a lens for real-world science. I mean, we are looking at a fictional scenario that heavily pushes the boundaries of modern terrorism. It's weaponizing not just explosives, but the human body and the human mind itself.
Yeah, it gets into your skin. Literally.
Exactly. It forces you to ask these really profound questions about the illusion of control, the anatomy of trauma, and what survival actually looks like when the threat is, as you said, literally under your skin.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the best way to get into it is by taking you straight into the brutal, chaotic opening where this whole nightmare begins.
Set the scene for us.
So we are at Pacific General Hospital in Los Angeles. It is an emergency room located just blocks from one of the roughest sections of the county. Picture this. There are heavy bars on the windows, metal detectors at the doors, and a waiting room that is just overflowing with human suffering.
It's not a calm place to work.
Not at all. And we meet Nurse Ann Thayer. Now, Ann is brilliant. She was valedictorian, 4.0 GPA, someone who genuinely cares about healing people. But she has only been on the job for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she is already drowning in the reality of urban medicine. She's been explicitly told by management that the hospital philosophy is, quote, treat 'em and street 'em.
Which is so grim.
It is. They actually tell her, whatever you do, don't stand around with cranium rictumitis.
I love that phrase.
Right. It's a very colorful, very dark way of saying keep your head out of your own backside and just keep the line moving. She literally spends her shift constantly praying, please, Lord, don't let me kill anyone tonight.
And we really shouldn't gloss over that environment. That detail is crucial because it establishes the sheer sensory and cognitive overload of her workplace.
Right. She's already maxed out.
Exactly. In high-stress triage situations, medical professionals develop severe tunnel vision just to cope. Anne is already stretched to her absolute psychological limit, meaning she is entirely unprepared to process an anomaly. Her baseline for normal is already total chaos.
Which makes her reaction to her next patient completely understandable.
Yeah.
In walks Juanita Clybourne. She's a young woman, maybe 19 or 20, and she looks completely frantic. She has a flushed face, dilated pupils. She's hyperventilating.
So Anne assumes the obvious.
Right. Anne immediately assumes it's a drug overdose or a psychotic break. But Juanita is screaming, it won't come off. She thrusts out her bone-thin arm, and right there, right above her wrist, is a simple black tattoo.
But not normal ink.
No intricate artwork, just digital-style numbers and that word, 00.01-boom. And Juanita's just sobbing, swearing she just woke up with it, that it started at 10 hours and the numbers keep changing.
So what does Anne do?
Anne, trying to be the calm, rational professional, tells her it's just ink, it's not infected, you're fine. But then she actually looks down at the girl's arm. And De La Vega puts you right there in the room with her as she watches the ink wiggle.
That visual is insane.
It really is. The tattoo literally changes to 000000-boom, and right there in the middle of the ER, the patient and the world as Ann Thayer knew it violently explodes.
What's fascinating here is the terrifying technology behind this concept. Because later in the source material, a medical doctor working with the FBI task force, Dr. Stanford Oglethorpe, breaks down how this might actually be scientifically possible.
Right, because people don't just spontaneously explode.
Yeah.
And tattoos definitely don't animate.
Exactly. Oglethorpe theorizes that these are next-generation PSVIs.
PSVIs.
Yeah, that stands for Programmable Subcutaneous Visible Implants.
Okay, so we're talking about microchips under the skin, like what people use for their pets, but with a screen.
Not exactly. A PET microchip is passive RFID technology. We are talking about microscopic liquid crystal displays, LCDs, surgically implanted just beneath the epidermis.
Okay, but screens need power.
Right, and the truly chilling part. They don't require bulky external batteries. They are powered entirely by the victim's own bioelectrical system.
No way.
Yes. The human nervous system runs on electrical impulses. This tech leaches that ambient energy to power the display. But here is the critical distinction that makes this so insidious. The PSVI itself, the tattoo, is not the bomb.
Wait, if the tattoo isn't the bomb, why does she explode right when it hits zero?
Because it's a synchronized trigger, not the payload. The implant lacks the physical mass to create a concussive blast of that magnitude. The explosive is hidden elsewhere inside the victim.
I see.
The tattoo is simply a screen. It is a psychological weapon designed for the sole purpose of sowing absolute fear. It's about demonstrating total, inescapable control over the victim before the actual explosive detonates.
That is incredibly dark.
Imagine the sheer terror of watching your own body mark the exact time of your death, knowing law enforcement cannot save you. It is a sadomasochistic masterclass in psychological torture.
Wow. And you can't have a weapon that psychologically devastates people without needing someone who understands the psychology of devastation to stop it.
Which brings us to our lead.
Yes, the reluctant, deeply broken hero of this story, Dr. Cassidy Cord. And I want to warn you, if you are expecting a flawless, caped superhero who always has the right answer, you're going to be very surprised.
She is a mess.
A complete mess. Cassidy is a forensic psychologist and a former Black Hawk helicopter pilot who served in the Middle East, and she is hanging on by a thread. To understand Cassidy's profiling skills, you really have to understand her trauma.
The backstory here is brutal.
It is. 8 years ago, she traveled halfway across the world to a war zone to finally say yes to marrying her fiancé, Russell. She spots him across a busy, dusty street. He's exhausted, covered in dirt, and when he sees her, he steps right into the traffic, arms wide open.
She runs to him.
She runs, yelling, "Yes, I will marry you!" Their fingers literally touch.
It's a classic cinematic setup, but the psychological fallout is what grounds it in reality.
Because mere seconds after she finally agrees to marry him, an improvised explosive device, an IED, goes off. It kills Russell instantly, literally blowing him to pieces in front of her eyes. And the sheer force of the blast takes Cassidy's right leg just below the knee.
So traumatic.
Fast forward to now, she's back in LA, functioning, but barely. She names her prosthetic leg Steve because she jokes that Chris Hemsworth is too long.
Which is funny, but dark.
Right, you can tell the humor is just a desperate defense mechanism because behind closed doors, she suffers from unbearable phantom limb pain.
And phantom limb pain is a brutal physiological reality. The somatosensory cortex in the brain still has a map of that missing limb.
So the brain thinks it's still there.
Exactly. When the nerves are severed, the brain misinterprets the lack of incoming signals as fiery, twisting agony. It's almost a physiological metaphor for trauma itself.
That's a great way to put it.
Have you ever gone through something terrible? And long after the physical threat is gone, your brain still reacts as if you are in immediate danger. That is what Cassidy is fighting through every single second. She has night terrors that leave her soaked in sweat.
And it bleeds into her professional life, too. She's lost her social filter entirely, becoming so aggressive and acerbic with her clients that she's on the verge of being fired from Lansing Psychological Services.
She is basically a raw, exposed nerve. But her trauma is also the only reason she can understand this killer.
Exactly. Because he isn't just committing random acts of terror, he is specifically targeting and taunting her in this highly orchestrated cat and mouse game. You feel the absolute dread when her doorbell rings at 3:14 a.m.
Nothing good happens at 3 a.m.
Never. She hops to the door in the dark, balancing on one foot because she didn't have time to strap Steve on. She opens it to find a bouquet of daffodils.
Which is a highly significant detail. Daffodils are her favorite flower. This isn't a random attack, it's a demonstration of intimate surveillance.
Spot on. And it comes with a deeply cruel, pun-filled card that reads, "You're a blast."
Oh, that's sick.
It gets worse. He starts sending her text messages with self-erasing photos of the victims just minutes before they explode. For example, he sends a picture of Rodney Colley, this overweight orthodontist from SeaTac who thinks he just had a wild night in LA, only to realize he has a countdown on his arm right before he detonates in the middle of the airport.
But If we pause the narrative to do what Cassidy does, to actually profile this bomber, we see a very distinct psychological signature.
Let's hear it.
He is not a disorganized, chaotic actor lashing out at society. He is highly educated and incredibly organized. He's clearly a law enforcement buff. Furthermore, instead of just calling him a thrill seeker, let's look at the psychology of a bomber who uses a countdown.
It's about the waiting.
Precisely. It's not just about the kill. It's about the prolonged agony of anticipation. In forensic psychology, this points to a deep-seated need for omnipotence. He has a God complex.
Wants to play God.
He gets off on the victim's helpless realization of their own mortality. He wants an audience, and he selected Cassidy because he needs someone intelligent enough to fully comprehend his brilliance.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the bomber goes out of his way to prove that absolutely nobody is safe. You look at the victimology, and it is all over the map.
It's totally random demographics.
Exactly. You have Broderick Cedars, this wealthy, ruthless Hollywood producer, running for his life in his custom Italian suit through the dark hills. He's wheezing from his 2-pack-a-day habit, being taunted by a woman over a speaker telling him time is money right before he blows up.
A very specific, targeted kill.
Then you have LA City Councilwoman Danielle Soriano. She leaves this heartbreaking video message for her family, trying to maintain her dignity while showing the camera the 0.03-boom tattoo on her arm, apologizing for hiding it to protect some dark secret right before the screen turns to static.
That's devastating.
And then there's Angus Diggs, a pimp to the stars.
The Angus Diggs sequence is arguably the most critical in understanding the mechanics of the threat. It brings the terror directly into the stronghold of the authorities.
Yeah, the FBI thinks they have a handle on it.
Right. The FBI has established a task force at Hollister Memorial Hospital, an abandoned medical facility. They place Diggs in Blast Room 1.
A bomb-proof room.
Exactly. This is a retrofitted X-ray room with thick revetment walls, lead-lined doors, and hardwired cameras specifically designed to block any remote detonating signals.
And the tension in that room is suffocating. Diggs is sitting there in a velour jogging suit, terrified, watching his tattoo countdown. He tells the FBI how he and his driver, Arnie, were kidnapped, chained naked in a cinderblock room with a drain in the floor.
Classic horror movie setup.
Totally. He had to watch Arnie's tattoo count down to 0, and then he was literally covered in the gore of his friend's explosion. Now he is in FBI custody, and they bring in their bomb expert, Miguel Alvarez.
And the visual of Alvarez is something else.
It provides a tiny bit of dark humor in an otherwise grim situation. Miguel is wearing this massive, puffy green EOD suit with a funnel collar, looking exactly like a neutered dog.
It's a great description.
I mean, you've got a guy in a giant marshmallow suit trying to disarm a digital tattoo. It would be hilarious if the stakes weren't so incredibly dire. Diggs is stripped down and x-rayed. They scrape his skin. They check his stomach. They run chemical swabs.
And they find nothing.
Nothing. There are no batteries, no wires, no trace explosives of any kind inside him.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the mystery of the explosive mechanism is what makes this so scientifically compelling. Miguel makes a brilliant observation in that room. Since there are no traditional mechanics, he compares the potential bomb to nature.
To a bug, right?
Specifically Burkina's fumans, the bombardier beetle.
A beetle that explodes.
It creates an explosive chemical reaction. The insect has 2 separate abdominal glands producing distinct chemicals, hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide.
Which are safe on their own.
Completely innocuous on their own. But when the beetle is attacked, it mixes them internally in a specialized catalytic chamber to create a literal, boiling, audible explosion.
So Miguel thinks it's a binary liquid.
Yes. Miguel suggests the killer might be utilizing a highly advanced biological or chemical binary agent, 2 separate harmless liquids implanted in the victim that bypass all X-rays and airport security.
And then they mix.
They are synthesized by a biological trigger at the exact moment the tattoo hits 0.
That is terrifyingly brilliant. But before they can figure out how to neutralize it, Diggs relays the chilling manifesto the killer gave him. The rules of the game.
The killer loves rules.
Rule number 1, the tattoo is final. If you've got it, you're gone. There's no escape. Rule number 2, anyone, anytime, anywhere.
And he proves it right there.
Yes. To prove just how absolute those rules are, right while Miguel is in his giant suit scraping the skin near the tattoo, Angus Diggs explodes.
Yeah.
Right there inside the most secure FBI room possible.
Actually, the FBI played right into the bomber's hands here.
Wow.
By bringing him into a shielded, signal-blocking room, they proved to themselves that isolation doesn't matter. The weapon isn't external. It's entirely internal. The psychological impact on the task force is devastating.
Because they couldn't stop it.
They're supposed to be the ultimate shield, yet a man is obliterated right in front of them despite their absolute best efforts.
So, what does this all mean? It means the killer was just warming up. He wasn't just targeting individuals. He was preparing for a massive spectacle. The deep dive moves to the breathtaking climax, and the escalation here is just massive.
It goes from single targets to a crowd.
The FBI gets a cryptic clue chopping to the blue. Cassidy, who grew up a Braves fan in Georgia, realizes it means the Atlanta Braves doing the tomahawk chop against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
A baseball game.
They are playing a night game right now at Dodger Stadium. Suddenly, Cassidy gets a text on her phone. Just 3 words. All of them. At the same time, the brilliant tech agent Nell Balcom hacks the ticketing system and makes a horrifying discovery. 500 people in that stadium won free promotional tickets, and all 500 of them have boom tattoos.
The logistics of this are staggering.
500 people.
Think about it. Implanting 500 people, organizing their presence in a single, densely populated location, and synchronizing their detonations is the work of a dark, twisted genius. It transforms a localized, individualized threat into a mass casualty event of historic scale.
And the absolute pandemonium at the stadium is visceral. You were put right in the stands with Sandy Taft, the estranged wife of FBI Assistant Director Gregory Taft, and their 6-year-old son, Joey.
Right in the middle of the crowd.
They are there on a date with David Blythe, a massive former NFL player. Suddenly, the giant Dodger Vision Jumbotron gets hacked. The control booth technician, Alfredo Morales, is completely locked out of his own system.
The killer takes over the broadcast.
The Jumbotron starts overriding the live feed and broadcasting the digital countdowns of the victims to a screaming crowd of 38,000 people. You see a fan realizing he has the tattoo, the screen flashes boom, and he detonates.
The panic would be instant.
The crowd stampedes, people are being trampled, it's sheer, unadulterated chaos.
And this is where Cassidy Cord's character truly earns her redemption. Despite her severe PTSD, despite the debilitating phantom pains, when the call to action comes, the former military pilot instinct takes over.
She commandeers a Bell 407 helicopter.
Which is not easy to fly.
Flying a helicopter like that is incredibly complex on a good day, let alone with a prosthetic leg. The anti-jerk pedals in a chopper require immense finesse. Because she lacks ankle mobility, she has to rely on Steve, her prosthetic, flying entirely with pressure, not movement.
It's all tactile feedback she doesn't actually have.
Exactly. She's trying to find the yaw balance while hovering over a vibrating, terrified stadium full of smoke and panic. She flies right down into the bowl of Dodger Stadium.
The visual of that is so cinematic.
Gregory Taft leaps from the chopper on a rappelling rope. He literally has to wrestle the giant former NFL player, David Blythe, who it turns out is a human time bomb himself, to keep him away from Sandy and Joey.
A literal ticking time bomb of a man.
The rope snaps. Taft almost dies, but he fights his way up to the control booth to save Alfredo. In an unbelievable feat of aviation skill, Cassidy maneuvers the chopper to drop a 15-foot fireman's ladder.
While managing the pedals with her prosthetic.
Yes, she flies Sandy, Joey, Taft, and Alfredo out of the stadium by the skin of their teeth, just as the massive synchronized explosions detonate. Over 200 people explode simultaneously, 392 dead in total.
The physics of that flight, coupled with the sheer desperation of holding onto a ladder while hundreds of people detonate below, is a harrowing testament to human endurance.
It's an incredible climax.
It perfectly encapsulates the core theme of the narrative survival in the face of overwhelming, seemingly insurmountable odds.
It really is a masterful way to end the story. It brilliantly balances this explosive, high-stakes, cinematic action with the deeply personal resilience of a broken protagonist. You look at Cassidy Cord dealing with all her physical and mental scars, and you remember the wisdom her father shared with her back on that Georgia dairy farm when she was a kid.
I love that quote.
Can't have a donut without the hole. It's such a profound, simple reminder that fortitude is forged in adversity. You cannot have the sweetness of survival and strength without acknowledging the empty, painful spaces that trauma leaves behind.
This raises an important question, though, one that extends far beyond the pages of this thriller. We've talked extensively about the fictional technology and the psychology of the killer, but consider the psychology of the crowd in that stadium.
Mob mentality.
When 38,000 people suddenly realize the person standing right next to them in line for a hot dog might be a human bomb, society completely fractures in seconds. Panic overwrites logic instantly.
Is every person for themselves?
It makes you wonder, in our hyper-connected modern world, where we are surrounded by strangers on subways and stadiums and in cities, is our civilization built on actual, tangible safety? Or is it simply built on the fragile, unspoken illusion that the person sitting next to us isn't a threat?
Wow.
Once that trust is broken, the explosion isn't even the most dangerous part. The human reaction is. We already live in an era where technology is literally merging with our bodies, from smartwatches to bio-trackers and medical implants. If our own bioelectrical systems can be hacked to power a countdown on our skin, how long is it until our own biology is weaponized against us?
That is a genuinely unsettling thought to leave you with, and it definitely makes you look twice at the people on your next crowded commute. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you're fascinated by the dark depths of forensic psychology, marveling at the intense aviation heroics, or just checking your own arms for moving tattoos, we hope you enjoyed unpacking the incredible science and story with us. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe out there.